Hello, welcome. If you don't know me, I'm Will Scott, the co-founder of Search Influence, a nearly 20-year-old digital marketing firm with a focus on SEO and online ads. Over the last couple of years, I've been really interested in AI and in automation. My first presentation on AI was HubCon in Austin in the early part of 2023. Since then, I've probably given a dozen different presentations, and I've used various AI systems to create a bunch of different content, images, text, video, you name it. Today, I'm going to be demoing a process that I developed for our team at Search Influence. It's my belief that a lot of the things that we have previously had tech roles to do in our organization, tech is basically moving bits from one place to another, or in some cases, outsourcing. A lot of those roles are probably better done by machines. And so the system that I'm going to show you today is what I developed to create and update Google Business Profile listings. A Google Business Profile listing is important for local businesses. Another value is that if you're creating new content and you want to get it indexed, publishing it to a Google property like your Google Business Profile is a great way to get Google to take notice of that content. It's also a good way to communicate with prospective customers. If you are writing blog posts with the intention of educating customers, creating a Google Business Profile post can be a good way to get that in front of them. And today we're going to be using a few different tools. We're going to be using Zapier, which is a no-code automation tool. We're going to be using Google Sheets, which is freely available to everybody. We use it within our workspace. And we're going to be using OpenAI, and then we're going to be using the Google Business Profile. There are a number of no-code platforms like Zapier. I personally prefer one called Make.com, but the problem is that Make.com does not have a native integration to Google properties, and we're going to need that for this. So I'm going to start with the end in mind. This is a Google Business Profile for a property that I have owned for a long time called WebBoss. And you can see this is a Google Business Profile post. It is promoting a brand called Plastic Surgeon SEO. And you'll see down here, that link also goes to Plastic Surgeon SEO. So how do we get here? Where it all started was this form. It drops the information into a spreadsheet, and then the magic happens. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be form-based. If you use Slack or a project management system like ClickUp, which we're in the process of migrating into, this is probably automatable from there, and I would recommend doing that. The reason I like the idea of using a tool that you're already using in your everyday business is it becomes more seamless. There's no reason whatsoever that you could not start this process directly from ClickUp or from Slack or from Asana or whatever tool you use to manage your workflow. So the actual work of this consists of two zaps, as Zapier calls them, a zap being an individual element of a process, right? And so the two zaps that this consists of are one, which actually creates the Google Business Profile post, and the other is one that actually updates the Google Business Profile. There may be a way to do this more elegantly in a single zap. I found this to be a good way to go because it allows for approvals and review and editing, which to our team are very important, right? Because you can't just let AI run wild. You have to edit what it produces or risk producing bad quality content. In addition to Zapier, you're going to want an OpenAI account. You can directly call ChatGPT from within Zapier, or you can use what's called an assistant. And an assistant allows you to predefine the behavior of ChatGPT. And so this is what that looks like. This is my GBP post writer, and I've given it some instructions, and I will show that to you. And it's my plan to share all of the pieces of this. I'll be exporting zaps and also my GBP post writer. So if you're into it, You can take this and modify it to your own desires. The first thing we do is we come over here and we input some data. For purposes of this example, I'm going to be using searchinfluence.com as our source. I'm going to record myself as the person doing this. There's my source URL. So as you can see, this is the URL from our website. I'm going to input the company name, and then I'm going to enter the target keyword. If there's no image URL provided, we'll create one with a DALL-E. You could, of course, if you wanted to, grab an image that existed on the source URL, for instance. So you could grab that image address and you could paste it in there, but we're going to let DALL-E do the hard work of actually creating us an image. If you don't provide a word count in the assistant, we have defined a word count of 200 to 250 words, which is probably longer than you need for a Google Business Profile post, but our team sometimes likes to create longer posts, and that's okay. I'm going to say that I want my word count to be 100, and we'll see if ChatGPT actually listens. It doesn't always. Sometimes it just makes up its own mind. And then I have this field here for supporting documentation. If you wanted to have a link to your content guidelines or to a client content brief, you could put that in here, or you could copy and paste it in here. This is a big block, so it's very useful. And I'm going to say, yes, please send me a copy of my responses. And that's the whole form, right? So then I click submit, and it says, there you go, thanks. Okay, so we've submitted the form, and now what's going to happen is that content gets actively updated in our form responses, right? So this is a spreadsheet. It's my content for posting demo, and you'll see that the information that I put in there is now all in here. And then what happens is magic, and this is where Zapier comes in. In this particular Zapier is looking for a new spreadsheet row, right? And it's looking in my content for posting demo. And once it gets that, it moves it through a process. And that process forks at this point, and it's split into two paths. Make it a little bit smaller so we can see everything. Okay, so it splits into two paths. This is a feature in Zapier called paths. It's basically it evaluates a condition, and then based on that condition, makes a decision about which way it's going to go. It's a two-way switch, right? You get one or the other. In this case, what I was looking for is, here, let me go back and do this thing, just so that we can all be on the same page. I'm going to switch into edit mode on this Zap so that I can show you the stuff. So I'm looking for a new spreadsheet row, and it's looking for a new row in my content for posting demo spreadsheet, and it's looking in the worksheet form responses. It then is, and this, when you're building a Zap, you can test it along the way, and it shows you what's going on. So in this case, those are my prior tests, and you can see, here, let's find new records, and you can see, once it finds the new record, that there is what I just put in, right? There's my source URL on Search Influence, my word count, my channel, and I didn't have any supporting information, so you don't see that here. So then it goes into our path. And once it goes into the path, it's evaluating, has this already been processed, is essentially what we're evaluating, right? Okay, as I was going back through my video, I noticed that I made an error and I needed to fix it. So hopefully this splice will be too obvious. I said that my path conditions that we were checking for were something completely different, but what it really needed to be was generated post does not exist. Here at the path, generated post does not exist is the condition that we're looking for in order for it to progress to OpenAI to write the post. And if that exists, cool. If not, it goes through this other path. I sent it to a webhook. A webhook is like a website that you can post or pull data from. So then the next thing is we're going to ask ChatGPT to write us a post. And so what we're sending to this assistant is our data from our spreadsheet: company name, source URL, target, keyword, supporting docs if they exist, and a word count, right? And I'm calling the assistant the GBP post writer, which we looked at a second ago over here. And then on successful completion of that, we update the sheet with the generated post. Let's see if that's happened. Nope, we don't have that yet. We're gonna test because we know that we have our data in there. Nope, let's go back. Okay, that's the data we want, right? So we're gonna continue with that record. It's gonna take us in here to, you'll see that it says that my path would have continued for this test data, right? So that says that it passed the condition. And so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and actually run that OpenAI completion. So we're gonna continue, company name, source URL, all good, right? And it's calling the GBP post writer. And we're gonna continue, and then you'll see data in is all that stuff, right? And data out is all this stuff, right? So we're going to retest this step with the new data, and we're back. And this is the actual response. So you see, here's my little fire emoji, because gotta have a fire emoji, right? And a proper Google Business Profile post. It's a little wordy, maybe it went further than I asked, but we're gonna go forward anyway. And in that next step, what's gonna happen is it's gonna update my sheet with that post. So it updates the sheet. We're gonna go ahead and test and actually retest that step with that record. You can see the data from my previous tests. So now we should have updated the sheet with that record, right? So we'll go back to our content demo, refresh. And now, see, we've got our nice little generated post in here. So then what? We need to see if we've got an image, right? So if you input an image in the form, this path is checking to see if that image exists. And if that image exists, let me tell you what happens there. If that image exists, it passes you through and sends a Google chat to the team so that they can go and review the post. If there is no image, it continues forward and it goes to DALL-E. So we can create an image with DALL-E based on the inputs that we have. And you'll see, create a very simple, realistic, single image for use in a post based on the content of that response. So here, we're gonna go ahead and we're going to test this, and you'll see it'll give us our output, and we're gonna let that run for a second. And we're back, and now we have some nice output from DALL-E, and it gives us a link to where that output lives. So just for sake of example, I'm gonna show you what that looks like. And that's our output, right? It's pretty funky, but whatever, we're gonna go with it. I love DALL-E, it's so funny. Okay, so next step in the process is that having created that, we're gonna continue forward, and it's gonna go back into our Google Sheets module. So see that? Google Sheets, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna update our image URL field with the DALL-E image URL, right? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and it's going to update that row in the spreadsheet. Again, back over here, there's my image URL. And then the final step in this Zap is we are going to message the team to say, hey, that Google Business Profile post that you asked for is done, and you can now go check it out, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and send this message, and it's gonna show up in Google Chat. Now, maybe you don't use Google Chat. Maybe you use Slack, and that's okay. Slack works just fine. And so here it's telling me that I have a new post for review. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on review, and it's gonna take me to the actual field where I have this particular post. So I can go and I can edit it, I can do whatever I want. If I want to shorten it up or make it better, I can do that right here. Checkbox, I can say that it's been reviewed so that everybody comes behind me, knows it's been reviewed. And if I require client approval, then I can get client approval and I can check this box that says approved. And guess what? Me checking the box that says approved, whether it's client approval or whether it's internal approval, triggers the next zap, right? My next zap is ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna go back over here, and then here is my next zap. This is the much simpler one, right? And it's looking for a new or updated spreadsheet row. What do you think it's looking for? It's looking for the presence of that approval. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna edit this zap so you can see how it all works. It's looking at that same spreadsheet, content for posting, form responses, and the trigger column is approved, right? If the test is successful, we're gonna find your records, and it's probably this one, approved, true, boom. So that's pretty awesome. So we're gonna continue with that record through this process, and it hits a filter, and the filter is looking for one thing and one thing only, and that is, does the zap have approved is true? And in this case, that is yes, it is true. And so this zap would continue, right? So we're gonna continue forward, and then it's gonna go ahead and it's gonna publish to the Google Business Profile. And as it turns out, I don't have to go through this whole process of testing it because I just got a notification in my chat window that my Google Business post has been published. And the good news here is that this Google post was published for search influence, the relevant information, and now I can click on review, and it's gonna take me to that WebBoss Google Business Profile, and boom, here we are. So there's the one that we just created for higher education SEO, linking to that blog. And if you're interested, this is the one that I created earlier as a test for plastic surgeon SEO, again, linking to one of the pages on plasticsurgeonseo.com. So just to recap, I want to run through the things that you're going to need. You're going to need a license for Zapier, right? And that's how you're going to go ahead and do all of this fancy mechanics without having to know how to code. You can call all of these various structures and get what you need. And you're going to need Google Sheets, so you got a place to put your stuff. A lot of people also Airtable. I'm sure Airtable's fine. I'm just not really familiar with it, so I don't mess with it. And then you're going to need an OpenAI API key, and you'll want to create your very own assistant with your style and tone. And that's it. From a form to an edited Google post with minimal human interaction. And again, I just want to say, perfect for this kind of process would be that it's actually started from your project management platform rather than having to go through this process of re-entering the data in a form. For quick testing and deployment, it's just a lot easier to do it in a Google Sheet with a Google form. So I hope that's helpful. I have really enjoyed making this process. This is the first of many. It's my expectation that a lot of the tasks that we needed people to do are very soon going to be moved into automations so that we don't have to spend people's brain cycles in a way that's not rewarding for them. The other thing I'll say is that my next iteration of this, which I'm hoping to publish sometime next week, is going to take advantage of Perplexity to go find images that we can use from stock art sites that allow free reuse. Stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to drop that shortly after Mardi Gras. If you don't know, Search Influence is in New Orleans and we take off Monday and Tuesday of Mardi Gras week because in the old days, the whole city shut down. You couldn't go to work anyway. Thanks for watching, and please, feedback. Thanks. Have a lovely whatever.